We're on.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
This is so cool and cozy. Let me open the live stream chat. This is an interview that you guys weren't available to see because on the online part, they were having the workshop with, God, what's his name? Why did I forget? Kevin. And then they were there, and so I guess, first of all, how are you guys doing?
We're doing good.
Good?
Good.
Happy it's over.
Have it's over, please. That's great to see you guys. Like since they didn't see you guys, I guess we could start by talking about what you do and introduce yourselves and what you do and what you talk, so they feel at least included.
Yeah, definitely. So today we talk about the topic of how digital design is transforming the tattoo industry. But a bit about myself, I'm from Salt Lake City, Utah, and I've been living here in Denmark for about 3 years, and my role at Tattoodo is head of product.
Yeah.
I'm Hannah. I'm from New Zealand originally, and I'm the community manager at Tattoodo. I basically love talking and all about the communication for our office. So basically, that's where we're at.
Awesome, cool. So first question I'm gonna throw, of course, like people are gonna still like ask questions. I'm gonna ask since you touched this a little bit on your talk, what was the actual biggest challenge? You talked about the challenge for the tattoo artists during the pandemic, but what was the challenge for you guys specifically during this period, and how you dealt with it, and is it being hard and still being hard and that kind of stuff?
I think the challenge for us was to agree upon, as a team, the best approach moving forward. But honestly, the pandemic actually turned out to be a blessing in disguise for us in a lot of ways, because it kind of gave us a centralized focus on supporting the community and not having to worry about all these feature developments and what was on the current roadmap. So it basically just gave us 4 months to take a step back and figure out, we're going to work on these two things, which was the art classes and also this digital walk-in experience. So it actually turned out to be a very timely situation for us.
Awesome.
I think one of the other challenges really comes down to just convincing the tattoo industry that the content that we were putting out and the artists who were making sure the artists that were doing the art classes and things like that were of a high enough standard to sort of pull people in. I guess we wanted to keep people super interested and focused on tattooing without being able to actually tattoo. So I think it turned out really well for us, basically, because we managed to snag a couple of really great artists and then develop some extra art classes on that and extra series on that, and it just was taken so well by the community, where I think maybe before, particularly because of the challenge of digitizing a predominantly non-digital industry,
right,
you're sort of looking at how can you break it. And something like this, art classes where it's interactive, really, really helped us in that way, and helped to gain us respect, I'd say.
That's really cool. And also going back to your talk, you guys live demoed, just so give a more like a subject for everyone. You guys live demoed the technology they're developing that uses AR to sort of project and uses all sorts of technologies such as texture mapping and all that sort of stuff. Apart from the platform, how would you say your excitement, does it live more in the platform, maintaining the platform, or do you think this technology is really beating your heart? You're like,
personally, I think this has something that can really influence both parties. So there's the artist side, which when you talk to a lot of artists about this, they don't really see the value up front until you put it into their context. So right now, when you go to a tattoo shop and you're getting a tattoo, they put a stencil on your arm or wherever it is. And this is essentially doing that, but a more realistic approach to it, right? And then on the client side, it's more of this gimmick almost, a way to engage them and try it on. And for people who have tattoos or for people who don't, it's a really easy way for people to just get on an app and work around with this technology. Do you have anything to add?
No, that's
yeah. And what do you think are limitations that AR has as of right now that's kind of holding back the technology? How can you see it, basically? What I'm trying to say is how can you see it improve with some restrictions that AR has right now, and maybe it doesn't have in 5 years?
Yeah, I mean, I think one thing for us is we're a small team. So getting the right heads behind it and figuring out how we can improve some of the, like for example, some of the skin segmentation. Like with existing tattoos, it doesn't really work out. You know, you can't really read that there's any type of depth on the skin here. Whereas with a watch or with clothing, it's pretty easier to map out the different depths of that image. So for us, that's kind of a challenge that we would need to eventually work our way around.
I would say the other thing really with the way that the ARs works, I think realistically we'd like it to be happening a little faster, and developing the background behind it, and almost ideally in our minds it would be great to be able to get it in a situation where rather than taking a photo first and then putting the back piece or whatever it is on the client, it would be to directly do it from the camera. So that's sort of, I guess, where the progress we would like to see that happening. But obviously, as Brady said, we're a small team, so we need some help and more focus on that side of things, really.
Yeah, so if any of you out there can help us with that, please reach out.
Yeah,
that would be great.
I was actually walking.
We'd love to collaborate.
Yeah, we were talking yesterday, and I was just mentioning how I wanted, like, I'm a very indecisive person when it comes to tattoos. And I saw them, was like, you know what? I'll try it. And maybe like it helps me convince. And that pointer that you said in the talk were like 10%. You might be 10% cooler.
Yeah.
It's really appealing. Anyways, let me just see. Okay, no questions online. That's all good. So we don't have to worry too much about that. Cool. The other question I have is, how do you think it is with the newer generation? Do you think that new tattoo artists are willing to open more into the digital world, or do you still think that the tattoo education in terms of like design and art of people that grow up in that scenario, like do they have lessons that they're still too classical and still too conservative regarding technology?
Yeah, for sure. I think realistically, when it comes down to it, there's two schools. You've got your sort of young kids who aren't necessarily going through like the traditional mentorship or apprenticeship as tattooing normally has been for a very, very long time, and they're picking up skills or trying to teach themselves at home and doing all these sorts of things. But basically, these people are drawing on iPads. They're doing all sorts of modern they're a lot more open to these sort of modern sides of things, and so for us, these are the group of people that are probably easier to crack, but we want to respect the industry as much as possible, so it's kind of, we want to have that balance of understanding that it's going to take a little bit of time to convince these old schoolers or this other school of thought who are really like, there's a long apprenticeship, and to be honest, it's not necessarily the most fun, you know. You're always running, it's like an intern, you know, running out and getting coffees and doing all the average jobs and things like that. So it's sort of, a lot of people in the industry expect to go through that, but as the times are changing and we're being exposed to more information, I think, yeah, the younger crowd would be a lot more sort of open to the stuff that we're doing. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. And one thing that we talked upon a bit in the talk was that, you know, even though older artists may not be very receptive to this, Corona is a big example of how they've kind of softened that perspective, and it's almost like this need to have it, right?
That's true.
If there is a demand for it and we can supply that demand, regardless of anyone's perspective or opinion on that digital experience, they kind of have to try to adapt and figure out how it can support them in their workflows.
So, cool. Do you think, so of course the thing is still a live demo, the actual AR implementation of it, but do you have any interesting stories that someone shared with you based on like the experience they had? So someone that maybe never had tattoos and literally was convinced for the app, like, you know what, just an interesting story in general, someone.
I mean, we have some colleagues, like our office isn't all heavily tattooed, right? Is not. You know, so it's about 50-50, I would say.
Yeah.
So there's still quite a few people. I mean, we're a tech company, right? So obviously some of us are, but some of us aren't. And I think over time, the natural exposure to the content that we have on a daily basis on the platform has kind of given people this itch.
yeah.
So there has been people who never had any intentions of getting tattooed, and then they end up at one of our company parties, which usually has tattoo artists there.
Like flash stuff?
Yeah, flash stuff for sure. You know, so people who have said, no, I would never get one, you know, now we have a colleague that has a little Batman tattoo on his arm. And then another colleague of ours, you know, a few drinks later, he ended up getting a tattoo on the back of his arm as well.
Yeah, for sure. I think like the more tattooing or tattooed people are around you, or the more normal it becomes. So like me working in a tattoo studio, when I first started working in a tattoo studio, I had this tiny little tattoo, but then I was seeing tattoos every day, all the time, so it kind of meant that it was just way less scary for me. And so I guess that's like kind of a goal on our end, is if we're educating and communicating and putting our all the great content out there to the public, then we can hopefully normalize it a little bit more and encourage people to be getting, you know, tattooed, or to normalize it in terms of not sort of making stereotypes or judgments based on people because of being tattooed, for example.
I mean, I've been here for like 10 minutes with you. I already feel like I need tattoos. Come on. You know, I need tattoos. No, but yeah, that's really interesting. So how do people come about finding what you do if they're interested in learning more about like...
Yeah, I mean, our social media on Instagram, you can follow Tattoodo. You can also download the Android app, the iOS app, and you can also go to tattoodo.com. There's loads of content there. You can book appointments with tattoo artists. So yeah, we'd love if you guys checked it out. And if you do have any feedback when you download the app, good or bad, we'd love to hear from anyone.
Awesome. Cool. Yeah, cool. I think that's all the time that we have.
Nice.
This is really awesome.
Yeah,
it's
cool.
really cool.
It's nice and
yeah, nice and super nice and cozy.
Yeah.
They're pretty amazing people, so I was super excited to talk to them. And yeah, keep an eye out for other talks, and we'll just keep on hanging out. And yeah, let us know, leave comments. Also, I'll leave the links for everything that Tattoodo does, and so you guys can follow. So that's gonna be pretty cool. Thank you so much.
That'd be great. Thank you. It's been nice.
All right, cool. Thanks everyone. We'll be back in a bit.
See you later.